Hello guys, welcome to the Trading Parrot. With the recent event on Friday of the 20 billion liquidation affecting primarily the altcoins, in this video I'm gonna focus on the weekly time frame across a long extended list of altcoins. I'm gonna try to identify which ones are in a point of no return, which ones are having a fast and speedy recovery, signaling some potential strength and upside. I'm not gonna go in depth in any of them. I won't cover news, liquidation levels, or any of the usual. This is meant to be just a fast, high-level overview trying to distinguish between strength and weakness in the altcoin market. I will mention the ones that have already done a lot of progress. We don't want to be chasing coins, so if some of them are showing an opportunity, an area of value, I will mention that as well. Guys, if you want to trade any of these altcoins and you're looking for a new exchange, Bluffin is a great alternative. It's one of the exchanges that I'm currently using to trade Bitcoin together with Bybit and 2Bit. On this particular one, you can get up to an iPhone 17 depending on the trading volume and the size of your deposit. No matter what's the size, you always get a reward as long as you use the link in the description. So I have gathered tons of coins that recently people asked me to review from my elite member only group. Tomorrow we will be having a private live session with every single member from elite. You're still on time to join that if you have specific questions. Hopefully today I'll cover most of what you need to know in general for the weekly time frame, starting with Aptos. Aptos has been in this declining area of lower highs. We recently got very close to the RSI of 55, which ended up being another rejection. But this particular rejection, which belongs to what happened on Friday, wicked down all the way to 0.687, and we're talking about on the listing on Binance. And that definitely went beyond the levels of bear market, and it happened to tons of coins. Interestingly, this happened in an area where we were about to hit all-time highs of accumulation of longs. That's pretty much the theme for many other coins as well. What I find interesting is that with this flash into areas not seen even in the bear market of $1.2, the flash didn't necessarily take all the longs currently in the market. We are still sitting at 65%, which is quite elevated. The last time that we get into 80, which is the highs that we see in here, we had a drop into 61 and then that dead cat bounce into 71 before resuming back into 32. That is the previous pump. Just to keep it in mind, currently, Aptos is battling with this long-term support. Very difficult to zoom in because there is that long wick during the listing. You can see the lows at $5, then at 4.3, multiple times in here, and the flash on Friday went below that. That level of support is 3.6. I will expect, or I will be looking into holding this level as much as we can. Definitely the RSI is pointing down in here with new lows, so there is some weakness currently showing, but if we manage to hold at 3.6, that could be some good news. Going into Ethereum is one of the coins that currently is looking the best, considering relative to everything else, right? We have a big flash of longs, we broke the support of the area of value, and we enter into the 33 in terms of longs and shorts. You can see that level right there is something that we haven't seen since around 10 of October of 2022. Sorry, of 2023. This one is the one that coincides with this. So definitely in terms of longs, we have more than cleared out of the way some of the longs, and we have surpassed to the downside the area of value. But all of that is happening at an area of support of $4,000. So for as long as we hold this $4,000, we're kind of threatening to go into a new all-time high next. This is coming in as the bearish pattern on the RSI broke down, retest, and put a new low. The only thing that could make this look positive is if we consider that this is kind of a micro falling wedge that could signal continuation from here, but ideally we want to do that from the $4,000. If we break this pattern and we break the $4,000 and we are coming into the area of the week that goes up until 3.4K, that to me says that really what market maker wants to do is to extend the carnage beyond that level, getting into the 3.3 or the low 3,000. Holding the 4K means they already did what they needed to do and were due for this particular pattern to break out. Ethereum can lead the pack, so if Ethereum does that first, I'm sure that many others are gonna follow through. FARTCOIN ended up breaking down from a pattern that was actually bullish. It was holding support at 0.66, but with the puke led by Trump's public tweet, it ended up breaking down in a bearish way instead. It went straight into the support that we have at 15.9, and that was even a lower low relative to March 2025. Now, that is a lower low, and it's a lower low on the RSI as well, and I don't think we need to spend more time on a meme coin because it's looking pretty bad. Pump USDT is currently holding our support of 39.72. There was a huge flash that pretty much wipes out all the range to the downside. So any move to the downside in here is really not chasing liquidity. Hopefully it's going to hold this level and then go into the next level of resistance that is located at 67. QNT. Again, it flashed into the lows of 2024 in August. An area also visit in the middle of the bear market, and it managed to break down on the weekly. That closing price on the weekly put the RSI weekly at 44, signaling that this is a breakdown, bearish. Now, if this week we manage to reclaim it above 46 and the price goes into $100, then we get a strong case to continue to the upside. Currently, QNT is in an area of value when it comes to the amount of longs versus shorts, so it's not overcrowded, definitely. Solana, I made a video on Friday and I made you aware of all the liquidity that was spanning all the way into 167, and pretty much we hit that nail in the head because we crossed the levels of RSI that we were looking for the next level of support. After testing the 60, we came straight into that 52 RSI that was around here. That was the support of 178 in between with 158. Biggest levels of liquidity in the short term got all wiped out. Hopefully now we can reclaim $200 to start from there a push into the upside. My fear is to lose $180 for Solana. That will signify that probably we need to go deeper into other levels of liquidity. In tomorrow's private session, I can go a lot more in depth in Solana and see liquidity levels as well, but I want to keep it fast-paced for this video so I can give a broad picture of the altcoin market to all the people in a public video. SPX 600-900. What happened is we had a breakout with this massive green candle into resistance of 157, but then it came all the Holocaust move in Binance that pushed the price to a new low at 82 cents and breaking the lows that we haven't seen since May in this year. Interesting because we were forming this head and shoulder that was being bearish, but we hit that support, we reclaimed, that was bullish, that helped that green candle to come in. Now this RSI has a higher low there relative to the low of 46 that we put in here. So that means that we are currently still defending the momentum that comes from this falling wedge. So this could potentially continue, but we really need to defend the lows of $1 for SPX to sustain the positive forecast. SUI really did a massive puke, and the third wave was a disaster. We were already anticipating around here that it was going to be slightly worse. What I was never expecting is that a deteriorated kind of rally that we were seeing here from the early days around April in 2025 was going to end up wiping down into the bear market levels. We're looking at the Binance listing and you can see that it hit 58 cents. Come on, I never thought about a level like that. Longs are completely crushed in here. We are at levels of 37 because literally everybody got kicked out of the way. You can see that we lost the support on the trend line, we lost the support on the weekly RSI, we put an equal low up 44, and things are all over the place at the moment for SUI. The best option that we currently have is to reclaim the $3 and close a weekly around that level to basically turn all of this into just the liquidity hunt the way it looks. Being below the white line is still the area of danger, gray area. Coming back above $3, yeah, we reclaim support and maybe we can resume the upside. Definitely the least number of longs that we have seen in a long time, along with socials, very low attention in SUI at the moment. Those are bullish things, but that means that you need to adjust expectations as well, because we have broken structure and we really need SUI to have a strong comeback to repair that big damage. I'm impressed with what happened with AAVE. We made a V recover into 386 and then came back and we are holding 247. That is not such a big damage. And by holding the support at 250, 246 and at the same time having so little longs, this is an area of value that could potentially signify that we resume from here and maybe we can even take the 386. I am not currently invested in AVE, but relative to other coins, I'm seeing strength in here. But I know that we haven't taken the previous all-time high, but holding this 245 to me is strength. Just my humble opinion. Don't take it as financial advice. And remember, on ADA, we were talking about completing this inverse head and shoulders. And I say that if we cannot manage to hold the 81 and form the right shoulder, we maybe need to go into 68 and do a closing basis there so we can resume back into 90 and then get the breakout that this inverse head and shoulder is pointing into 1.5. In order to do that, we need to defend that 68, so that's an area for accumulation. We wick all the way into 27, and every time that you see these long wicks on Binance, I want you to think the following thing. From here to think all liquidity pools have been taken. So there is no longer liquidity pool, specifically motivation to go there. If we enter a bear market because all markets crash, then it makes sense to go there. But there is no longer the appetite from the market maker to take out of the way the longs, because it just did that, not just in the close proximity, but in many of the coins in the full range of the history traded for that coin. That is kind of the positive take to what is coming in, and that is the bullish narrative that many traders are taking to say, okay, we have a clear downside, now we need to start looking into clearing the upside. We need to be careful with an overcrowded environment of everybody thinking in that way, because an alpha that is popular is not an alpha, it's a beta, so don't use it. AERO was kind of wanting to form this cap and handle in here, but thanks to last week, it lost the support of $1 and it went all the way to new lows, new all-time lows indeed, hitting 28 cents. It did a breakdown, a retest, and now it's looking a little bit more like it's in this phase rather than in this phase. If there was any potential for AERO, the first thing that it needs to happen is it needs to break this line in here on the RSI. Being below that yellow line, you are still in the area of the puke. Being above, you have some chances to do later a revenge rally. Next area of support is coming in at 74 cents, followed by 50 cents, both of them psychological levels. We already have a candle weekly close below $1, so when we get into $1, watch out with that as a resistance. Probably that comes in around the same time that the RSI faces the resistance of 50 on the weekly. Aethir is on the third week to the downside and is in the middle of this vacuum of volume, so probably it's going to be looking into the next area of support with 34 cents. Although on the weekly RSI, you can see that it's retesting the breakout. It's very painful retest because it went all the way to 66 from 49 and now it's at 47. So a big range to the upside and downside. So hopefully that is going to hold around there. Maybe intra-candle it can pinch the 34 and then hold back up above this white line on the RSI. maybe it can have some continuation. I will be looking as well into holding this support. So if this one breaks, you have a final land in the sand to maybe build something from there. But if you lose also this one, then, forget about Aethir. BNB has been putting all-time highs non-stop. BNB belongs to Binance exchange, and now there is some bit of fat around, or fears, concerns, because of all these weeks that happened and were attributed to Binance itself. Yes, they are giving money away now, hundreds of millions of dollars given to people that lost money. Some of them were trading with 2 million and they got 0.42 USDT, which is a slap in the face. You can see how we achieved the golden pocket that we left before. That is 1.3 thousand, and we are seeing a rejection so far. We need to see if this red candle turns into an engulfing one, or if it gets bought up and we close above 1.3, signifying that we could be accelerating into another wave up into the percentile in here. Longs are at all-time high, is very overcrowded, and inside social networks you can see we are getting to levels of 4% of attention into BNB. That is getting almost into an all-time high. Last time we reached 6, so we are 2% away to reaching an all-time high in attention. The last time we did that was in the second peak of the bull market in November at 6%. So watch out in here for putting another all-time high and then collapsing after hitting 665. You go into a bear market that pushes the price of BNB 69% down. DOGE did another week to the downside, but it didn't reach the bear market prices. It only went to 0.10 instead of 53, which was the bottom of the bear market. It remains within this megaphone ascending pattern in here. And let's zoom in to see what was the damage. We had this sort of double bottom that wanted to break out, came back in here. There is a neckline at 22 that then we move into 23, 24. We are putting a higher low relative to the double bottom. We got coming in support at 16, 17 cents. But we are in this area between support and resistance when we need really Dogecoin to make a decision. I know on socials in the past weeks, Doge was becoming really prominent, people talking about it and expecting big moves to the upside. We're getting close maybe to support at 43 RSI on the weekly. That's probably going to be priced at 16, 17 cents anyways. And longs were pushed from the all-time high of 60% into 42. So that is a big flash into support. So maybe we could consider that we are getting closer and closer on Doge to an area of value. EIGEN is trying to do whatever it can to hold the support on the weekly. Let's look at the daily and let's see. We are below the support, slightly above. It depends how you draw the line. Very quiet at the moment at 0.038 social dominance. Longs completely decimated from all-time high longs into very close to the lower percentile at 43%. But we kind of get a breakdown in here. I wouldn't be saying that there is currently an opportunity apart from a short move into the next resistance. The area most traded is $1.4. We need to reclaim 1.5 and then say that we are on the bullish area so we can continue into 2.3. Ethena lost one level of support from 55 into 42 and is trying to reclaim it. Hopefully it can resume all the way to complete a cap and handle in here. We had already a handle, but if we consider the cap and handle with this different shape, something more like this, we can still reuse this target to 1.33. But there's a lot of work to do. We need to hold definitely the 37 cents. On the flip side, the positive is how many longs have been decimated in here. We are at 22, very close to the low that was the bottom of the cup. So we are basically at a situation that is similar to this, or similar to these lows as well, in terms of how crowded is the environment from longs. HBAR lost the support last week and is trying to hold the 17 cents. It wicked into 75, which is higher than 42. We went into the weekly support You can see that we reached 43. We left that level there before the collapse, and we have so far held that level. Hype at the moment has a head and shoulder in here. You can see it something like this, and it's got a neckline around the 42, and we are currently facing at resistance. There is also big volume traded at 43, so hopefully this can reclaim this and invalidate it, turning all of this into just a liquidity hand, a bear trap. But if we confirm this move down on the weekly from there, and we see the full rejection, then we have the next area of support at 35, and I will say followed by 28 next, talking about the weekly time frame. Injective is holding the 9 support at the moment. It had a breakout, but now is putting equal lows relative to the area of the beginning of the breakout. So it has lost a lot of momentum. It's got some sort of double top in here, holding the neckline of $9. We need really to revert this very quickly, because it's looking really bearish. We were forming a triangle and we couldn't break out the $16 into the target of 25. We reduced the number of longs back into support at 45%. So hopefully from this area of value 9, we can build something into the resistance of 16 and then rally into 25. And thanks God that I'm holding Link in spot, because this went to $8 on Binance. This week, hopefully we can reclaim the $20 to resume all the way from 28 into new targets. If we can do that, forming the handle of this big cap in here with a neckline at 28, then we can talk about targets as high as 45, but anywhere in between here, I'm already interested in distributing. Mana hit the lows, pinch the bear market prices, the listing prices, and even almost lower ever, and it confirmed a weekly breakout after the breakdown after the breakout. We really need to hold the 25 cents that has been support so many times. Is still support, and anywhere beyond 35 cents is no longer the area of accumulation. You can see how many times Mana has used that as accumulation to then just swing up into 80 cents. Near is currently losing the support of 2.5. It broke down on the weekly. It's still overcrowded in terms of long. We have 57, very close to 70, which is the highest level. ONDO is holding the 72 cents support. The next support is 60 cents, but we have never had so little longs on ONDO. So they are clearly all out of the way. I wonder how many people that are watching Paul Baron Network got decimated, because those were one of the coins together with AERO and some other ones that they were really, really bullish on. It has already gone to the lower levels of the bear market at 25 cents. And there has to be now a heroic effort to push this above support at 83 and then resuming to 112. Otherwise, there is really no hope of having any impulsive move to the upside. For PENDLE, next support comes at 3.1. We just lost $4, and the breakout lost a lot of momentum against this level of 45. We are now at 41. Meeting with the trend line of the breakout for a second time. It's really bad, and longs are almost all gone. We are at levels of 40. We've never been with so little longs. Point of control is at 3.3. Support is at 3.1. Lose that level and we are talking about a new low at $1. TAO is having a good day, by the way, after the week to the downside into the depths of the bear market at 142 level. It reclaimed the triangle and it started already challenging $440, which is a level that we saw in July. No one will have expected that right after such a disaster it started coming back up. I guess there must be some critical news. It just raised 11 million in Series E funding. BitTensor hosts meetups in Hong Kong. I guess that's why it's rallying today. There is this flag in here, so if we are calling this a breakout, it will be nice to see where it can get. Thanks to this week to the downside in here, it's already achieving the extension of 1. The golden pocket is around the $700 mark, a price that we reached in December in 2024. TON put a new low, not just in the price, but also in a closing basis, breaking down from this double M pattern in there. It's being held by the 2-1 volume right there. in my support of $2, but it must reclaim 2.7 to even say anything. It had a breakout in here, it lost it, put a revenge rally in there, it broke down from that as well, and it continued to break down week after week, putting new lows. The lowest RSI is 33, and prior to the breakout is 27, so it's still holding that thing with lows there. This could turn potentially into an incoming bullish divergence there because the momentum has not reached yet 28. Uni next support is 5.8. It just lost the support of $7. It broke down for weeks. It has been coming down, and longs are almost completely gone by now relative to the past performance. The only lower levels are 29. Currently we are at 46. Virtual lost support as well, the 1.12. Next support is at 44 cents. We could say that there hasn't been a breakout yet on virtual, that it continues to fail to break out. So eventually, I will say we're gonna get a breakout from here, and it's definitely worth monitoring that level there, particularly because we have already flashed all the way to the downside. We have very little number of longs. Let's look at XRP, because this particular flag in here that we were referring to as a mirror to this one, but the top one with a neck at 2.7, whereas the lower one with a neck at $2, it wicked down all the way to 1.2. I was not expecting to really sweep all the liquidity that low. We already were aware that we have a wick up until 1.5, so anywhere below that will have done. It wasn't necessary to really go to 126, but hey, that's what happened on Binance. We put a new low on RSI at 47, and this continues to weaken down because we already have a revenge rally into 70, and that pushes us into a new low. So now the chances that from this low we go back into 81 to do another revenge rally are very small, very slim, at least in the short term, according to the charts. Let me know if you know anything about XRP, but at the moment, socials are at the very highs. Look at this, 5.3%. That's almost as high as 5.9, which is the all-time high in social dominance. Longs broke below the area of value and now are in an extended downside from this support. I was wishing that we don't have the same experience as this, that you reach this level and then you break down into here. So far we haven't gone that low, but we are initiating something that needs to be repaired as soon as possible. We need to reclaim 50 in the longs versus shorts for XRP really to convince me that it can do any more from here. Currently we are trading below my exit price, so I don't care that this went into 3.6. I took profits at 2.8 and now we are trading at 2.5. So if this weakness continues to push the price, I have more motivation to stay convinced that I did the right thing. To be honest, on Aptos, I think it's an area of value. Ethereum below 4,000. If we went already, I already called for area of value between 3.8 and 3.5. I hope you managed to buy. I bought at 3.8, at 3.5. I was in A&E, so I couldn't do anything. Pump is on support. QNT looks okay for adding a little bit or for building something with expectation of a potential altcoin season. We need to think that if Ethereum goes into an all-time high, if it goes to 5 or 6K and it settles somewhere there, altcoins are gonna follow through. The timing of that is impossible to tell, but all you can say is that if you are not allocated with decent good prices and this opportunity of buying at bear market prices in a bull market, so when that time comes, if you are not already allocated at some level, then do not be part of it because it will have already been too late to enter. Areas that I like is anything that looks support or slightly below support with a small position, with a look into where is the next support already, where is going to be my pain. Ideally, you can join tomorrow's live stream and we can look into some liquidations as well to be more precise and find an overlap of support together with liquidity levels. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.